Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here, welcome to another video. This is Fish Room Vlog Part 5. And before I get to all the things that have happened in the fish room this week, I wanted to show you this. This is one of the tanks in the bottom row of the recycled rack, the original one. And when I initially set it up, my intent for it was for it to be an invertebrate only aquarium. I wanted to have gramaris or scuds and cherry shrimp, even though they're not red anymore, and snails. And I wanted to keep a high population of them around. Because as I said before, I find these are amazing as cleaners. And I want to make sure I always have enough around because lots of things like to eat them. And you'll notice that there are a couple of baby guppies in here because I've been doing a lot of renos and I ran across them and there's actually literally nowhere else where to put them when I had all those tanks taken down. So they're ended up in here, and obviously they're doing great because shrimplets and baby scuds are amazing food and they're growing really quite fast, which is interesting. So I think there might be another experiment in the future for using these for raising baby fish. But anyway, the reason why I'm showing you this is, if you remember a little while ago, I set up this leak-proof, the new version of the leak-proof canister filter, and I accidentally left the light on, and you can see there's a bunch of algae in here. Well, at this point here, I added a bunch of scuds and snails and cherry shrimp, and then the very next day I looked at it and it looked like this. They are amazing at getting rid of, well, in this case a little bit of hair algae and whatever else was in here. They've cleaned it up amazingly. I mean, I actually really like the look of this. So that's the reason why I want to show you this little clip here. Simply to show you that they really do well, and as the population in here increases, they will obviously overflow into the aquarium where the mom and her babies are, and hopefully they'll have an effect there as well. So here's a side-by-side, just to show you the difference between the two. This is, like I said, way less than 24 hours. I put it one afternoon, late in the day, and I looked at it next morning when I came down to feed, and this is what happened in, like I said, 12 to 14, 16, whatever. Definitely not a full day. So anyway, I just wanted to show that to you. So I've taken down the old rack. It's now in the process of being put together in the new configuration, and I need to replumb this first. I need to get this together and leave that T-joint I just showed you is so I can hook up the new rack when it gets into here. So this is just the replumb. I'm not showing you a whole lot of the work being done in this because obviously I've done this before. You guys can just look at the original video when I hooked up the other rack on the other side. It's just cutting PVC and putting it in place and gluing it. So this gives me lots of room to add in the new overflows, and what I need to do now is cut the rack down, re-bolt it and configure it and everything. I'm not going to show you any of that because, again, it was the same as the last one when I did the recycled rack, but I need to make new brackets. The last time I did double-sided ones. This time I'm just going to go with single because one of them had to be, and I didn't really need to, well, actually I don't really think it even matters at all. So they're going to go up against this, and then I'm going to use 1/4 inch screw and hex bolts, and they're going to be my firm attachment to the top of this. So all I need to do now, you can see it's already been cut and resized and drilled and bolted all together. The other thing I needed to do is put on new foam. Unfortunately, you can only buy it like 12-foot sections, so I end up with a lot of extra of it, and then just tape it on. And that is my cushion between the glass and this. So, pardon for the still here, but like I said, I didn't have a whole lot of footage, and I did want to cover some of the details of this before we got to the end of the video. So a couple of interesting things about the new rack. First off, the framing is the same size as the other recycled rack, so I guess this is going to be my recycled row. But you can see the top tanks are 16 inches instead of the 12 inches, so they're an extra 4 inches of height. And I haven't cleaned them up too much yet because, well, I mean, I need to take them off and do stuff with it. And also you can see I haven't attached the plumbing yet, the overflows. It's going to look exactly the same as the one to the left, but I said at this point I haven't had that done yet. And the other thing I might be doing differently at this point, normally I hook up the overflows and get all that set up before, before I put water in them. But in this particular case, because I need the space, I'm going to probably move over to making the filters for this and getting them filled with water, getting them running, and also, of course, retooling the air supply from the top for the 2 new air pumps, and maybe actually splicing in the 3rd one as well, depending on how much air I need. I just want to get this functional as quickly as possible, because that way I can get the fish that are being a little too overcrowded and get them into this new system as quickly as possible. So in future videos I will show you the details of having those attached and everything, but for the moment it's like I said, I got to get this done as quickly as possible, just to get things spread out. I haven't really noticed any issues except with one aquarium, and I'm planning to save that for a future video because it involves one specific filter of the new filter builds, and it wasn't measuring up. It's not as good as the other ones, and I want to go into explaining how that all panned out and everything. But that, again, like I said, is for a future video. So this is kind of interesting, because this one now is, I'm going to move this up to my eye height here shortly, right there. So this is actually going to be at a really good height for working with, and I'm actually kind of happy about that, so that's kind of cool. So lots more to come on this, but that'll be for a future video. Right now I'd like to do an update for the rainforest build. It was at this point I was beginning to have concerns about it, in the sense that maybe it was just way too wet, because I was noticing a fair amount of algae buildup on the Anubias leaves. Not so much here on the cryptocrene, but it's really hard to tell. So what at this point I decided I was going to take the lid off and have a look at it. And then I realized I needed 2 hands, so I had to put the phone down. And now, yes, there is algae growing on these leaves, and I was thinking that this might actually end up being a bust, but then I noticed this thing here. First off, there are some new leaves, but have a look at those roots. That is actually a lot more growth than I was getting from it in the water. So it actually is growing really quite fast. Now, as far as the little bit of algae growing on the leaves goes, it's not a big deal. As soon as I put this back in an aquarium, well, you saw at the beginning of this video how the cleaning crew I have do with a little bit of algae. So that can get cleaned off really quite fast. Right now, I'm more concerned, is this going to continue to grow really well? Or is it, going to have choking issues with the algae on the surface? I mean, there are still some concerns, but when I saw this, when I saw how well this was doing, I decided it was definitely worth keeping it going, at least the Anubias anyway here. Now, as far as the cryptocrene goes, there's actually no algae on the leaves. I don't understand the difference between the two, but there must be some sort of surface chemistry difference or something, because it did not have any algae growing on it at all. And as you can see, the leaves are lush and green, and I suspect there are some new shoots, but there's just no way of telling with all those leaves in there. But I haven't had any setback with it, so it is definitely going to continue. So I'm going to move ahead here now, and as you can see, that's a really nice new leaf coming in, and we'll see how it goes. One thing I did notice in when I was doing this and having a look around in it, that intake sponge that I put on to keep, from sucking up fish, actually not so much fish at the moment because the fish in here right now are way too large for that, but, getting snails, and if the snails get trapped on the top of the lid, it's a problem, so I put a sponge on it, but you can see that the water flow is actually a lot lower than it should be. So I cleaned the sponge, and in the next clip you'll see that it is back to proper flow. Here we go. And it's all good. So Thank you very much for watching. If you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe, and leave lots of comments as always. And always let me know what you think. And I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.